Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There you go, right down there. If you want to be among the first to hear my weekly takes, NFL, college football, more, right there. All right, instant reaction to one of the most exciting, unbelievable, unpredictable Monday Night Football finishes I can ever remember watching. Seattle comes from behind at home. I did like the Seahawks to beat Philly in this game, so I had a good 4-1 blazing 5 week. But you don't see a lot of these games in the NFL where Philadelphia kind of outgained them, had time of possession, kind of controlled the game. Seattle felt like they were just playing catch up. And then Seattle gets that last drive, wins the game, great interception at the end. You just don't get a lot of those. Usually you get a sense early in games, like who's controlling it, who's controlling the line of scrimmage, who's controlling time of possession, and Seattle couldn't make a couple key spots. So for Drew Lock, and this is why sports is great, Drew Lock's never quite been what people thought. He's never quite been the player we thought. It had talent, had a good arm. I always said he's a little Jay Cutler, has the arm, a little squirrely, personality, doesn't feel quite like a franchise quarterback, but there's obviously talent there. And that may be the greatest moment in his NFL career. And it comes on Monday Night Football. That's what's great about sports. And it's like Baker Mayfield getting another chance in Tampa and may win the division. That's amazing. Geno Smith, terrible start with the Jets. Total bust. Resurrects his career in Seattle. I don't think Geno Smith's ever going to hoist a trophy. He's kind of, slightly better than a guy, but it's a redeemable story. That's probably the greatest moment in Drew Lock's NFL career. He's had 4 comebacks. I don't know if any were that riveting. Any others were on Monday Night Football, but that was a sensational game. So Seattle now, and it was the season, because now the Rams are 7-7, and the Rams' schedule, they could go 10-7. All right, the Rams, the way they're playing, they are scoring now 30 points every Sunday. So Seattle now goes to the Titans, a team that's struggling to score. Steelers at home, Arizona at home. Arizona's tricky. Arizona can be feisty. Kyler Murray, you got to be prepared when you play Arizona. But Seattle could go on a 4-game winning streak if they can win those 3, plus the Philadelphia win tonight, and Seattle's a 10-7 team. And now, if the Rams go 10-7, remember, Los Angeles and McVay have always had Pete Carroll's number. They beat Seattle twice. So they would have the tiebreaker if it's the Rams and it's the Seahawks. But, a really redeemable story for Seattle on what was a crazy night. Drew Lock, they didn't, it's Seattle coaches. They wanted to pound the ball. They didn't throw the ball downfield much. They kind of, until they had to. And then Drew Lock hits DK Metcalf up the right sideline for a massive play and a gorgeous, perfectly thrown ball. Little double coverage. Metcalf, big, strong guy, pulls it in, gets the feet in out of bounds. That really energized Seattle, Drew Lock, the offense, the crowd. But before that, they were not throwing the ball downfield much. And, Seattle coaches wanted to run the football, didn't feel like they had a great deal of trust with a backup quarterback. Hey, defensive coaches and backups, it does not turn out well. So that's a huge win for Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. All right, NFL fans, it's time to unwrap this holiday season. How about that? This holiday season, throw down on some big matchups on the DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the National Football League, DraftKings. This week, new customers can bet just $5. That's it. That's all you bet, $5. And get $150 instantly in bonus bets. New customers, bet just $5, get $150 instantly, bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The code is Colin, COLIN. The crown is yours. Listen, we've all had fender benders in our life. Sometimes it's even more serious. But even if it's somebody else's mistake, you can lean on Morgan & Morgan. It's the nation's largest injury law firm. 100 offices and over 800 lawyers. With over $15 billion, that's a billion dollars recovered, Morgan & Morgan has a proven track record of fighting for you to get full and fair compensation. Submit an injury claim with Morgan & Morgan. It's really, really easy. It's almost like a quarterback, an offensive head coach, and a GM that gets some good weapons makes their life easier. We all need somebody, good or bad days, to make our life a little easier. That's what Morgan & Morgan does. If you're ever injured, check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/Colin or dial pound LAW, that's pound 529 from your cell phone. This is a paid advertisement. As far as Philadelphia, now their schedule down the stretch is Giants twice in Arizona. Should win out. Hard to beat a team twice, maybe not the New York Giants. Philadelphia, the Eagles really remind me of the Kansas City Chiefs. I still think they're a really good football team. They've just had a brutal schedule. They can't catch a break. There's some fatigue. They're not very good on the back end of their defense. And they find themselves, they're going to make the playoffs because of Dallas's loss. They got a break there. They're going to make the playoffs. And outside of San Francisco, I think they could win every single game. I watched them play the Rams earlier this year, pushed them around in Los Angeles. I've watched them play the Cowboys twice. They match up fine. Detroit, if Detroit had to go on the road to Philadelphia, I'd take Philadelphia. Jared Goff on the road, cold weather, not the same quarterback. So I think Philadelphia is fine. It's recency bias. They just lost again. They look cooked. They're not a great team. Kansas City's not a great team. Kadarius Toney, if they were a great team, wouldn't get on the field again. They need him. They need Kadarius Toney. And Philadelphia, for all the misgivings about the Eagles, they had this game won. These have been close games with Buffalo. Dallas, they got whacked, but they won a close game against Dallas earlier. They were in a close game against Buffalo. This is a good football operation. It's a good, intense football team, and I think Philadelphia is going to be fine. But that was a great Monday Night Football game. That was really, really good. And just that outcome isn't provided very often in pro football, where I really thought Philadelphia was going to win the game. I wrote positive notes about Philadelphia. They're uneven. They don't give you good back-to-back quarters or halves, but they're going to pull this thing out. I just tore all the notes up with Drew Lock going down for the winning touchdown. Seattle's really interesting. So we talked about, the mock draft. So if Seattle wins some of these games, let's say that they go 9-8 and not 10-7. Let's say they lose at Arizona or to Arizona at home at the end of the year. They beat the Titans and Steelers. Who knows what happens? And they don't make the playoffs, and they're drafting around like 18-20. Seattle, I like their roster a lot. I like their young corners. I like their receiving talent. I like both their running backs. They've got some really nice, a mix of like a Bobby Wagner, Brooks, and some youth on that defense. I really like Seattle. I think they're a quarterback away. Seattle's one of those teams that I could see Seattle saying, all right, we're going to roll the dice. We're going to give you, and I don't know who it would be, but they've got some duplication at wide receiver at corner. They've got a good defensive line, linebackers. I could see Seattle giving up a player and multiple picks. They don't really have a hole outside of quarterback. And Pete Carroll's now in the 70s. You don't want to sit around, and just cross your fingers on Geno and Drew Lock. I think we all can look at that and think it's a great story. What Drew Lock did tonight's a great story. And what Geno Smith has done the last couple of years, redemption, it's a great story. I'm happy for him. But we got to be honest about this stuff. Who's going to hold up a trophy? And Pete Carroll didn't think Russell Wilson could do it. Okay, so I think Seattle's the kind of team that could take a big swing and move up to the top 12, top 10 from where they're at currently in the mock draft. They'd have to do it with multiple picks. But again, they have hit on back-to-back drafts. They have a lot of young talent they're not paying much to. At wide receiver, at corner, at edge rusher. They've just hit at running back. A lot of good players. And when you do that, you can afford to give up some picks. And I think Seattle should consider it. So the Seahawks are now 7-7. They have to win out because the Rams are playing great football. In fact, let me look at this real quick. I didn't before. Rams are 7-7, beat Seattle twice. So let me look at the Rams schedule on the fly here. So the Rams schedule, they get the Saints this Thursday. They're favored by about 5 over the Saints. I like the Rams in that game. I think it's a coaching mismatch, McVay and Dennis Allen. Then they go to the Giants. Again, I think they win that game. 49ers, we've talked about this. At the 49ers, a team they do not match up particularly well with, but are the Niners already into the playoffs and rest McCaffrey and Debo and Trent Williams? I would. Their physical style, we know the Niners do not lose when Debo, Trent Williams, McCaffrey play. I'd rest all of them. I'd play Sam Darnold. I'd rest Brock Purdy. I'd rest all the starters offensively and some of the older defensive starters. Maybe Bosa, who can get dinged up. So the Rams, if Seattle wins out, the Rams could get a scheduling break with the Niners already in the playoffs, resting people in the final week. Keep your eye on that. All sorts of fun. Instant reaction on a Monday night. Seattle 20, Eagles 17. That was cray.